Okay, so what's up? What's up?
Hi.
What's
How
up?
are
What's up?
you?
What's up?
I'm nervous.
It's he's got that nervous smile going on.
Okay.
So my name is Doc, and this is my friend Kodip. He's a little nervous, but that's okay.
We'll get
We
through
still
this
love him.
together. We'll get through this together, I promise.
It's like a party.
Yeah.
It's almost like I could reach down over here and touch you.
Hold on. Over here. My camera don't go that far. No. We're not good at this if you can't tell.
No.
We're really
Yeah.
not. This is our first ever podcast.
I'm getting laughed at. I'm getting laughed at too. My audience of one is laughing at me.
Oh, well, it's a start. It's a start. Audience of one shall turn into many.
Okay, so we decided to name this thing, and it's called Discussion with Dummies.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm sure that's pretty obvious already. But we are going to discuss the things and the many things actually of the world, I guess. I guess we're going to be all over the place. That's kind of our ideas.
I don't think we're going to have a set. I don't know if you would call it a schedule or not, but just a set anything. Like, we're just going to talk about whatever. Like,
Yeah, episode 1 may be about financial shit. Episode 3 may be about
more financial shit.
more financial shit, or it may be about, I don't know, nuclear submarines in Cuba.
I got one.
That seems to be a going thing right now.
Why
seems to be a going thing.
Why stairs and steps are the same thing?
See,
that's the
Guess it
conversation
depends-
right there.
depends on what part of the country you're in too.
No, it does not. They are the
It does.
same. They're the same thing.
Well, they are the same thing. Yeah,
See.
they do the same exact thing, but they're called something different depending on where you're at.
You ever been on one of them magical stairs that take you places? People up north, they tend to call them escalators. To me, they're magic.
Oh, those are moving stairs. That's all they are.
My fun is
Because you tell me one person that has not stepped up the moving staircase. You know what I mean?
I've tried
While it's moving.
I've tried to walk up a escalator going down.
What? That doesn't work. You don't go anywhere. You stay in the same place.
Exactly.
Is that why it's magical?
Okay, story time. Real quick story about good old Cuba. I had a buddy of mine, and where I live in South Carolina, I have no problem saying that I live in South Carolina, but where I live in South Carolina, this guy, he born and raised in tomato growing country like that. He knew how to grow stuff, but he never went to the city or anything like that. We went on a trip. We went up to like Virginia or something for like a ski trip with the church or whatever. And he was a jokester. And we get there, and we go into this mall, and it had an escalator. And he was on some different energy that day. And he got on that thing. I think he spent probably 10, 15 minutes screaming in the middle of this mall about these magic stairs that move just constantly. He'd go up one side and come back down. He'd be like, magic fucking stairs. Whoa. And he had the best time of his life. So that's where I get the magic staircase from.
I mean, it makes sense.
Dude, it was so good. It was so entertaining.
All right, well,
So
we got magic stairs.
I guess let the audience know a little bit about yourself, like, you know, who you are, where you come from.
All right, well, that's a hard one because you and I both know that we're both military, or prior military at least. My name's Doc. I stream a little bit on Twitch. I'm a jack of all trades, I guess is the best way to put that. I do a little bit of everything. 2POX1 by military code, I guess is the best way to put that. Which is just precise tool calibration for the military. Did that for close to 15 years. Had a little run-in and got laid off Oh man, it's been almost 6 months now. Holy shit. Um, on top of that, currently in school, currently a college student, 31, almost 32 years old, and I'm back in school for accounting and business principles. So, my specialty is I like to play with money, and I like to probably a little bit more than I probably should, but I've made some money, I've lost some money, whether it's the stock market, purchasing and selling of assets or liabilities, whatever you want to call them. And currently, as far as the location, we're in Texas, and we might actually be making a big move to the Space Coast. So,
Hey, let's go. Let's do it. Let's see here.
that means I'll be closer to you, Kodip.
Exactly.
Just so you know.
Same time zone. It'll be better.
Oh, that's yeah. I come from the Eastern time originally, so moving out here was kind of a change.
It's the only time zone. My name's Kodip. As you know, if you can fucking read, you'll see it. Like he said, both veterans. I was in the Marine Corps. I did it for 2 years before I got medically separated due to a back injury and some other things. But I was a 6257, which is the MOS for fixed wing aircraft. I did the fuselage, skin, hydraulics, all that stuff on the F-18. And I absolutely had a blast. I tell people all the time, I would, as much as I hated standing around and waiting, I would do it again in a heartbeat. Born and raised.
Go ahead. I was about to make a comment about the Marines.
Oh, we're just the best there ever was and ever will be.
I was gonna say they let the Marines play with F-18s. That's scary.
Yes, sir. Born and raised, still here in South Carolina. My duty station was South Carolina, so I didn't go nowhere. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't work. I currently stream on Twitch also. That's my main, platform that I do a lot of things. And I take care of family. I mean, that's what I do every day. So I'm not necessarily as busy as, Doc is or anybody else, but I do keep myself busy, keep my idle hands at bay. What else? I don't know.
Well, I guess you said where you're from.
I drive a truck that's currently broken.
How South Carolinian of you?
Exactly. I enjoy
That's
finances. Okay. Yeah, I enjoy finances. Not on the scale that Doc enjoys them. More of a personal finance person, I would say. Like I don't buy into stocks that much, don't know much about them. I'm more of a invest in your future for yourself, away from stocks. My brain has stopped working. Oh God.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. My eyes started to hurt from wearing those stupid blue light protection glasses.
The finance companies, that's another thing that I tend to stay away from. But I'm more of a person that, when it comes to finances, I spend more time looking at how I can make my money make me more money and financially set myself up for in the future. And the other big thing that I'm heavily into is space. I absolutely love space. Anything astronomical.
I'm not gonna lie. Anybody that doesn't love space, just isn't really that fun of a person, I guess.
Well, space to me is a scary subject. One, because it's so vast. Like, you don't know what's out there beyond what we can see. Like there is a quote unquote legitimate veil that after that point, light doesn't reach us anymore. So we don't know what's out there. We only know what we see, and some of the things that are out there that we see now in the next 10 15, 20, 100 years, we won't see them anymore.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what's the like scary thing is we as humans and as people now, we're going to see things that in the next coming generations, they're not going to know anything about if it's not documented. Like there's going to be a star in the sky that we see that they never get to see. They never knew anything about. And people, the argument that I like having with people is like, oh, the ocean is scarier and we don't know as much about the ocean as we do space. I think that is a...
I think the ocean is fully explorable in the state that it's in. And I mean, granted, we may not have the technology yet to reach it, but it is within reach.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Whereas space, it's taken us 70-ish years to even get to the moon, right?
Oh,
We're like repetitively. So we're not going to go into the conspiracies. That may be for a different episode of whether we actually stepped foot on the moon before or not. But
100%.
Like you think about it, and since that time frame, we haven't been back, and it's been that difficult to get back to that. Now, granted, I think the idea there was we don't really need to go there, so we're just not going to go. But
that, and then too, like if you're like really into it, I'm not saying that you're not, but if you're really into it, when we went to the moon in the very beginning, we didn't have, for those listening, we didn't have the computer systems that we have nowadays. You know, the computer back
not at all.
Was handmade. Like it
was a singular computer. It was handmade, and it was literally the size of a wall in what would be now the space shuttle, right?
Yeah.
So like it the technology and what we're like, you think about it, right? And Falcon autonomously gets to the space station every single time. It's not missed once yet.
And that's what's crazy about it is like back then, all that technology, yes, we still use a lot of it today. But all the like the documentations, the concepts, everything was literally written on sticky notes, napkins, and it's all disappeared. It's
in pen on the wall of a launch system, right? Like it's crazy
and discarded for no one to find ever again. And that's like when people say, "Oh, it's impossible." It's not that it's impossible. It's that majority of those scientists and lab people that did all this, they're dead. They're gone. We can't access their knowledge and information that they had back then.
Correct. And what was written down is either lost in, for no pun intended, lost in space, right?
Yeah.
Or they just never wrote it down. It was all like tribal knowledge. And one of the things that over the course of time to me is like Elon Musk made a statement probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. He's like, yeah, we're going to be to Mars by 2025. And granted, that's a very short time frame, but to see the development that's been pushed through that, and to know the fact that, like, even if we thought about that 40, 50 years ago, nobody ever understood that, hey, you have this very slim window of launch to actually reach it. Otherwise, you're going off into space with everything else.
Yeah. And I mean, like, when people, because today, in today's world, people were always, they were always like, you know, everybody's so condescending and demeaning when somebody like Elon Musk or just anybody in general has this grandeur idea of doing something. And they want to talk so much junk and so much crap and just be like, you can't do it. There's no way. But look at history. I mean, back in the 60s, I want to say it was John F. Kennedy. He was like, by the end of the decade, we're going to the moon. And they had it done in like 5 or 6 years.
Of course. And that's so one of the things I want people to understand is like the only person that you're doubting in any way, shape, or form, Elon's a really good example, right? Because he's done this for years and years and years. You telling him he can't do something just makes sure it's going to happen and happen sooner, right?
Yeah.
Because that's just fuel to his fire. That's like, oh, you think I can't do it? Well, guess what? Now I'm going to do it even sooner just to prove a point. And so, like, I grew up in a really small town. And this is a really good segue, actually, into something completely different. I grew up in a small town. Everybody talked to each other, right? Everybody knew your business. And the confidence level in those small towns was very, very bad. It was very low confidence levels. And you can tell that by the fact that people would literally just, they didn't feel good about themselves, so they had to talk about other people.
Yeah.
Right? And to me, like, I'm a very, like, upfront person, right? Like, if you have a problem with me, you tell me. Because I'm going to tell you if I have a problem with you.
Yeah.
And that just nips it in the bud. And I got to the point when we moved that I was like, the rumor mill would run. Like, people would say I left town for this, that, or the other thing. And I was just like, yeah, go ahead. You can say that. I don't really care what everyone else thinks anyways. Like, if that's what you want to tell people is what happened, then tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't. They're going to believe it from me before they believe it from you anyways because it's about me.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I try to tell people all the time in my streams or just like out in public if I'm talking with somebody and they're having a bad day or whatever, is at the end of the day, the only opinion that should matter in your life is the opinion of yourself. It shouldn't be the opinion of others. Like, who cares? You know, this is our first ever podcast, and jokingly, I'm a little nervous, but at the same time, I'm excited to see where this is going to go. But the biggest thing is, like, it doesn't matter to me if we're rocking 100,000, 1 million views a month, and we're world famous. I'm still going to treat, you know, my next door neighbor like they're a person.
Of course.
Because at the end of the day, and I'm not going to let other people talk. One, I'm not going to let you talk bad about me. I'm not going to let people talk bad about you because we're friends. But it's like, if I truly know who you are as a person, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit there and start drama. Like, people want to start drama for clout. Don't do that.
Well, it's clout, and the other thing too that I've noticed, and this is just pure observation, right? Is they'll do it. The reason they're chasing the clout is because they're not confident within themselves, so they're searching for that confidence from an external source, I guess is the best way to put that.
So white knighting.
Yeah, exactly. It's white knighting, 100%.
And it's like,
and that's the, like, why? I mean,
because there's money. Like, as sad as it is, there is so much money to be made from off of other people's drama or their bullshit or whatever.
A prime example of that is World Star Hip Hop, bro.
Yeah.
It is 100% a clout chasing establishment.
Oh yeah. And it's like, stay out. Like, I get today's society is nothing but information. And you can't deny it. You cannot deny it. It is nothing but information. We're being fed information, whether it's true, whether it's not. We're being fed information almost 24/7 because we have access to it. Back when my parents were growing up, or your parents were growing up, only information they had came from books, newspapers, and phone calls from family and friends, and going out and hanging out with people.
The rumor mill was a real thing back then. And most times it was correct in the way that it was, right? Because people were everything was word of mouth, right? So
and there wasn't a lot of people to misconstrued what was being said, because you didn't hear, Uncle Jimmy over here, did something stupid, drinking and driving or whatever, and hit a dog. You heard it from like one or two people, and that's exactly who it came from. And then nowadays it's like you're hearing it from everybody, but they've heard it hundreds of times before it got back to you. And it's like it's like that childhood game where you would all line up, and then
telephone.
Yes, and so the person on one end would start, and they would say a phrase or a sentence or whatever, and they would whisper.
Be completely different by the end, yeah.
And that's exactly what's going on in today's society. Is being whispered down the line of people to the point where it's just incoherent bullshit.
A prime example of that is what we were talking about before we started recording, right? Like the whole Morgan Freeman's hand thing, or Gordon Ramsay in a bike accident, right? Like you had it that Morgan Freeman lost his hand, and I had it that Gordon Ramsay was in a freaking pedal bike accident. And that's all coming down the rumor mill, right? Like that's all that game of telephone.
And that's what I tell people. Like the biggest thing that I try to tell people, and I want everyone that's listening to also listen to, is if you listen face value what's being said to you, you're lazy. If you don't do the research, you're lazy. Do the research on anything that's being told to you. If you question it, do the research. If you don't believe it, do the research. That'll make you, one, smarter, two, and listen to both sides of the story, and then make your comparative decision on it after that.
So one of the big things that I've learned over the course of my, I say my grand life sarcastically, right? 31 years, man, and one of the things that I've learned through and through is one of the best ways to figure out what the truth is in a media source is you gather every single media source within these walls, right?
Mm-hmm.
You take these walls right here and you go, okay, we're going to listen to everything in here and we're going to find out what's similar between everything and get rid of the rest of that bullshit.
Exactly.
That is like 95% accurately what is actually happening. And granted, I research things, like that's what I do, right? I was telling Mel this earlier. I had it wasn't even a phone interview, but I had a touch base with a company, and one of my talking points to kind of like schmooze up the interview process a little bit was I went to that guy's LinkedIn and found out that he's attending the same college that I'm attending. So guess what? Now I have a talking point outside of the job that's going to get him to talk to me and speak a little bit more
openly
and friendly, right? Is the biggest thing there.
Establishing a connection.
And that is so, and that's huge, right? Like that's big in establishing any type of relationship. And I don't mean like relationship like, hey, let's hold hands and skip down the hallway. I'm talking like business relationships or like networking in general. Is you want to find out who you're talking to. You want to speak to your audience in a way that they understand you, right? Like it's not just, oh, let's talk about whatever the weather is today. No. Well, this guy went to the same college I went to, so let's talk about something about that college.
Yeah.
Like,
you want to create a rapport with the person, because you don't want it to, like you said, you don't want it to be just an interview. Because because then it's transactional, right? And transactional, a lot of times in the interview process,
they're not looking to see if you can do what you said you do. They'll find that out in a different way, right? They'll find that out. What they're trying to find out is if you're personable and if you can communicate and if you can talk to these people that you're going to be working with, if you connect well with them too. So, like, talking is, like, having something to talk about in an interview process is huge. Something other than the job, right? Like, tomorrow I have to talk to them again, and tomorrow I'll be talking about the job because I'm talking to the guy in charge of what I do.
Yeah.
So, but today was about schmoozing him up and him wanting me to be a part of their team, right? And that's kind of the feel that you need to get into when you're going into this process, right? You don't have to lie to them, but do some research, find out who you're talking to.
You don't want to hit them with, yeah, I'm forklift certified. You've never touched a fucking forklift in your life. I don't want to talk shit about my family that much, but my cousin did that. Got a job as a forklift operator, and then called me that night, and he was like, I've made a mistake.
I told him I could do this, and I can't.
He's like, yeah, I'm supposedly forklift certified, and I've never driven one in my life. I don't know what to do. I was like, you better find a friend that's working that's working third shift tonight, and see if you can get on a forklift and learn. And you know, he, in layman's term, he bullshitted his way through the interview process, and he got hired on for it. But at the same time, he took the time and effort to listen to what I said, and he went and found that friend that worked third shift at a dock.
And he fixed his mistake. Yeah.
And he went and he learned and he practiced and practiced and practiced. The dude gave him an empty pallet and an empty shelf that nothing was there. And he was like, all right, pick the pallet up, put the pallet in there, drive around, come back, grab the pallet, take it back down. And he worked at that job for years as a uncertified forklift driver. And then when he basically looked at him and was like, I need to renew my forklift license. And they were like, okay. And they renewed it, quote unquote. And he had his forklift license.
Yeah. So that's,
but we're not condoning bullshitting and lying your way through an interview process and then calling, Bobby down the street and being like, hey, I need to learn how to do this.
Yeah, that's probably not a healthy choice. You're in an era too where that's less likely to skate by, right?
Yeah. Like, everything's documented now. Like
it's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
Name and numbers, and they can see everything.
That's so I went through the unemployment process, right? Because I'm unemployed, and they contacted me. Right. And they're like, hey, we see that this happened and it wasn't documented that way. Right. Because there was no actual option for that. And they're like, yeah, we see that the company paid you to leave. What? Right. They did. They paid me a healthy sum of money to leave. But
was it leave on their terms or you were leaving and
No, it was leave on their terms. Okay. I was leaving. It was that day. Like, they walked me into an office, said, hey, we don't need your position anymore, but guess what, we're going to give you money to leave. And I was like, how much are you going to give me? Like, really, how much? And they're like,
negotiating at this point.
No, they didn't even say that. They're like, well, if you sign this document that says that you will not talk about the secrets of the company, we'll pay you this much. But if you don't sign that document, we're going to give you like an eighth of that. And I was like, well, shit, bro. NDA? How long does it last? They're like 5 years. And I was like, oh, cool, bro.
Why not?
You're telling me in 5 years I can go tell them everything. And they're like, yeah, essentially, we would like if you didn't do that, but we can't stop you.
I mean,
And I was
you
like,
signed
all
the
right,
paperwork. So I mean, like,
all right,
and
I'll take it.
they wrote the paperwork out. I mean, they knew what they were doing, and
Well,
probably
yeah, and they still do, and like that company is a multi-billion-dollar company. Like, I mean, I'm still wearing their stuff, dude. Like, I didn't hate that company. Like, I loved working for that company.
but it's just
Like,
there to protect what they have.
not only am I wearing the hat, I have a freaking jacket on still that has their shit. Like, it's not.
Don't worry, they docked his pay for the shirt and the hat.
No, I paid cash.
Oh, okay.
I paid cash. They had a gift shop, so
Multi-billion-dollar company on your way out. Visit our gift shop, please.
I bought the shit. This jacket's probably 3 years old.
It keeps the lights.
It keeps the lights on. Yeah, the $75 North Face, the $25 like junk hat.
I've never worked at a place that's had a gift shop.
You were in the Marines, bro.
Oh, I mean,
they got a gift shop.
You could consider the PX being a quote unquote gift shop.
Tell me you didn't shop for your family there for Christmas and shit.
No, I didn't.
Really?
Mm-mm.
So my dad, right? My dad is prior service as well. And even after he got out, he would still go Christmas shopping for people at the BX, bro.
It's
It was
cheap.
funny.
Or it's at least a little bit cheaper.
So he wouldn't go like Christmas shopping for us kids, right? Like he would buy Air Force shirts for like my grandmother or his sisters, like my aunts and stuff, or basketball shorts for his nephews and stuff like that. For us, my dad to this day, my dad doesn't give me anything for Christmas anymore. And I'm okay with that. Like it's not, I'm not a big like gift receiver when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
My birthday even, I'm like, don't give me anything, I'll figure it out. Like there's not really much that I really want.
No.
That's within a price range that my parents or my significant other, right, my wife will pay to buy those. It's something that I have to work towards and save money for typically.
I think the biggest thing is as you get older, you realize the gifts are great. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy giving.
It's the time. It's the time, man.
100%. It's the time. It's like, oh, my birthday's coming up. Just leave me alone.
Cool. Let's go. Let's go see. Or I'll be like, get the kids around, excite them. We'll go see a movie or something, right?
Yeah.
Like
that's the way my dad is. My dad, he's like in his mid 50s, and he's like, it's like, what do you want to do for your birthday? I just want to go kayaking. I just want to load my truck up with a kayak, go down to the lake, and spend all day just paddling around on the lake. That's what he wants to do.
I am really excited. I say really excited. If we do end up moving, it's still an if, right? If we do end up moving, I'll be 30 minutes from Daytona Raceway. And my dad's a big NASCAR fan, right? Has been for years and years and years. Taking him to a Daytona 500, he's never been.
Oh, he would love that.
Never been in his life. And I'm like super excited to be able to take him to that.
Yeah, he would absolutely love that. Like me and my dad, we want to go. I want to go to the Kennedy Space Center one of these days.
You're going to have to come down, and if we get there, you're going to have to come down and visit. I can get you into some of the good stuff.
Oh, definitely. Like that.
That, and if you come down during launch time, apparently launch time is the best time to be there. If they're like if Falcon or Artemis are launching, that's one of the best places.
Absolutely.
I'm over here doxing myself at the place that I'm going to work, but
dude, no one.
But it's not. I mean, it's exciting, right? Like for us that enjoy space, like being able to work for the company that is the leader in space, like it's not cool.
a government leadership either. It's almost commercial at this point.
Yeah. To an extent.
And that's what's crazy about it is like growing up, you never heard of Boeing or SpaceX or any of these other companies. It was always NASA. And
Yeah, now you have SpaceX, Boeing, Lockheed's got their hands in it now too.
Blue Origin.
What's oh my God, Virgin Galactic.
Yep. Like it's like,
ooh, that's something I can actually talk about because it was commercial. By the way,
let's hear it.
Bell was working on systems that were on the Virgin Galactic rocket.
What?
Yeah. It's public knowledge too. If you look it up, there's a contract thing for it.
You're telling me that because some of the tools that you have touched pieces that have been into space.
Not quite been into space yet.
Okay.
They're on the process is there, but yes.
But that
the other thing is too, I feel bad for anyone that's going on that rocket because, like you just said, I've touched tools that have touched the shit that's going on that rocket.
But it's still, it's like, as a space nerd, it's like
it's cool, dude. It's cool to understand that
you've touched something that's going to change the world at some point.
I've touched something that is going to feel less gravity than I feel every day. Is like the big thing to me. Is like, bro,
we're out here touching shit. That's what we're doing.
I'm out here touching shit. So that's
dude, like
this is so like working for like when I first moved to Texas, right? Like never in my life did I think that I was going to work on something that was more beneficial than like the like the H1 project in general, right? Because H1 has seen more years than most like 95% of Americans, right? Like,
so can you
that airframe?
Can you describe to us what the H1 is for those that don't know?
So the H1 is a multi-platform rotor aircraft. Okay, H1 has two parts. There's the UH1, which is commonly known as the Huey, and then there's the AH1, which is the Cobra. The Cobra is the attack helicopter. It's actually technically not an attack helicopter. It's a reconnaissance helicopter.
Call of Duty for those of you that are, weird.
And then the Huey is like Vietnam everything, right? That was back when both
one that Fortnite Sun plays on.
That was back when they were 2-blade too. That was before they were 4-blade.
See, I didn't know that.
If you didn't know that, yeah, they switched. So the AH1 didn't get a 4-blade variation until about 10 years ago.
So was
2-blade up until 10 years ago.
So what's the difference? Is it a synchronization thing? Because I know that there's a lot of synchronizing that has to go on when it comes to rotor wash and balance and all this other stuff.
I'm not 100% sure. I think it's the structure of the airframe that changes that heavily. Mm-hmm. What's crazy is that airframe, for those that don't really know the airframe, that airframe is universal. You can take AH1, the AH1 and the UH1 share a lot of the same parts. The skis on them are the exact same. If you didn't know that. All of the engine parts are exactly identical. They are dual engine aircraft, both of them, and they run the same exact engine. I believe it's a Whitten-Prattney. I may be wrong. It might be Rolls.
Most engines, or quote unquote jet engines, like helicopter engines and fighter aircraft engines, most of them are Pratt and Whitney.
Or Pratt and Whitney. Yeah, I said it backwards.
Whitney and Pratt. A little slight dyslexia. It's okay. But yeah, most engines are Pratt and Whitney.
Hey, it is called Discussions with Dummies for a reason, right?
Exactly.
Gotta get the small chance of dyslexia in here. So that airframe as a whole is pretty much universal. Some of the body panels are even the same, even though the actual framework of the frame is different.
Yeah.
So, typically the straighter body panels are universal. And that airframe has been around. The development of that was in the 50s, right? So, This is stuff I can talk about because it's all public.
It's all declassified. But it's
declassified. This is further down than declassified. I mean, you have, I think, 120 different nations that use that airframe now.
Yeah.
So.
And it's crazy because, like, with the F-18, it's like people don't understand that if you look at the history of the F-18, it is literally the father of
Bong.
It's literally the father of the F-35, the F-22. The platform of the F-18 was what NASA used for thrust vectoring. They slapped.
Of course, yeah. The X-37. Every aircraft, every modern aircraft. The F-18 was the first modified aircraft to be able to handle, like, physically handle thrust vectoring.
Yeah,
which was cool.
And it's like,
it's cool to see that in the late 80s. People were like, what is that thing doing?
Yeah.
It's like, going to fall out of the sky.
It's like, oh, the F-22 is so good. Yeah. It's the son of the F-18. With a little, performance enhancing drugs. But
oh yeah, they packed a little bit of that D-ball in there, a little bit of the good juice.
The testosterone levels on that stuff.
Oh yeah, dude. Have you gotten to see the F-22 fly in person?
Yes, I did.
Oh my god, that thing is
I think it was
absolutely bonkers, man. I love watching that thing fly.
2 or 3 months before I got out of the military, we had an air show down in Beaufort, and I'm sitting out there.
Was it the introduction of it?
No. So
what year did you get out?
2019.
Okay, so you're holy shit, you're quite a bit behind me. I got out. I did 4 years and was out in 2014 or 2015.
Yeah, I joined late, so I joined in 2017 at 24 years of age, turned 25 in boot camp.
Damn, you were an old fart.
Yeah, I wasn't the
Did they give you a leadership position because you were an old fart?
Nope.
Damn.
I tried like a son of a bitch, man. They gave this young kid, he beefy as he was a fucking bull, bro. I mean, he was built. Played linebacker in his high school.
Oh, so what you're saying is he was on the juice.
I'm not gonna say that he was, but he didn't take shit from nobody, and he ended up being our leader for most of boot camp until he started fucking up. But we had one dude that was in there in our platoon. He was 32. He was
damn.
He had an age waiver. He was at the last year he could join. He was 32 years old.
That's like literal it's the last waiverable year, isn't it, for the Marine Corps? 32. But Air Force was a little bit, I think 34 or 35 was the Air Force, but
he could rock out so many pull-ups, dude. Every time that we did a pull-up
brick shithouse.
And he was smaller than me. He was like 5 foot. I'm 5'10", and he was like.
Hey, now you better watch what you're saying. I'm 5'6".
He was 5'6" or smaller. Like, he had to have a stool to get to be able to jump up to the pull-up bar.
Yeah, that was me. That was me.
Rock out like 30 or 40 pull-ups.
God damn. So I remember when I was younger, right, like in high school, I would always, at like the local fairs and stuff, I would always go to that Marine recruiter station where they'd give you a t-shirt. If you could do, I think it was 20 pull-ups.
Yeah.
20 proper pull-ups, they'd give you a t-shirt. I always dropped at 17 or 18, bro. 2 more good pull-ups.
21, I think, is what I did. And that was like wide grip, because they don't tell you, and for those that are listening that are interested in joining, at first it's going to be a lot harder to do, but if you can do it, do a extremely wide grip of the bar, because it's less for you to travel, because as you extend your arms out, your head's already higher up towards the bar, whereas if you're doing a closed grip, you've got a lot farther to pull up.
You can also do that with wide grip underhands too.
Yep.
My advice though is make sure you practice those and watch a lot of videos on the form for them, because that will hurt you.
Yeah.
I'm a gym nut, so like I've done wide grip, close grip, you name it, right? Like I've done pull-ups for years and years and years to strengthen the back and
I need to go back.
and the lats. Oh, bro, I've been on a hiatus, right? I've been out of the gym for about 6 months now because of my motorcycle accident and having to deal with ligament issues in my elbow from the wreck. And I'm like finally at a point where I'm comfortable with the healing process that I can actually go back, right? So I'm taking our oldest, because he's old enough to work out at the gym now, and we're going to go get shredded just in time to move to Florida, and then I'm going to have to find a new meathead gym in Florida, which I'm sure there's plenty of in the Daytona, Miami Beach area, right?
They're going to be every street corner.
Oh, bro, I'm excited. And they're going to be outdoor ones too. Like, I'm super excited.
I tell you, there's such a difference between working out in a gym or in a place, and like technically some of these gyms nowadays are just businesses to make money. But the difference between working out indoors and then compared to being outdoors is just astronomical. I love working out outside.
It's so the gym we attend now has I call it the playground. Because it's a gym playground.
Yeah.
It's got like pull-up bars. It's got some like free weight press machines out there and stuff like that. And then of course they have barbells and weights and ropes and all the fun tires. They got tires out there. I'll tell you what, right now in my garage, I have a 220 pound and a 380 pound tractor tire sitting in there that I'm actually going to have to contact them and see if they want it, because I can't take it with me.
Sell it to them for $50. They'll buy it.
I mean, I was just going to give it to them for free.
So
I don't need them.
It's a dog eat dog world. You gotta.
I mean, for me, not really. I mean, I'm not saying that in a disrespectful way, but I mean, I've put a lot of time and effort into helping them out, and they've helped me out a lot. So to me, it's just like, here.
The biggest thing is, like you said, like, if you're going to give it to them for free and they're going to come pick it up, sure.
Oh, of course. I don't have a truck to take it over to them in. So
like, yeah, we'll take it, but you got to deliver it to us. Then I would be like, for me personally, I'd be like, all right, it's going to cost you like $50. Just because time out of my day to load this heavy son of a bitch into something that's going to haul it and then get it.
The big one took 3 of us to get it out of the truck without like running it down the road.
So yeah,
it was great. They had 2 people, so one guy rolled it off and 2 of us stood there to stop it.
Yeah, that like with the tree that fell down in our backyard from the crazy storm we had like a month ago. My parents are posting it all over Facebook. They're like, hey, we've got like a 90-foot hickory tree, straight arrow, hickory.
Oh, bro, I would have came and chopped that up.
And we're like,
that's good smoking wood right there, bro.
It's free. Come get it. It's free.
Come chop it up, throw it in the back of your truck, and take it.
And people are like, can you bring it to me?
Yeah, let me just tie it behind my truck and bring the whole ass tree.
For free. They're like, you said it was free. Can you bring it to me? It's like, no, you come get it. You cut it up.
Yeah, I will say that like if you're offering something, so like I had to deal with this, right, with my motorcycle. Right. It's a wrecked bike, but it doesn't have a wrecked title. So people are like, I'll give you $1,000 for it. And I'm like, bro, you're getting a bike that you can fix that isn't a salvage title or an R title. Like, you'll be able to street this bike the moment you fix it.
It's worth more than what I'm selling it. I know
the exhaust alone on it was worth $1,000.
Yeah. And that's what people don't understand is like, I understand that I'm getting rid of this bike at a low cost, I understand that if you're smart, you're going to take it, fix it, and then probably flip it, if not keep it for yourself.
I had a Honduran guy come buy it. Okay, like straight like on work visa. Come buy it, right? And he's like, didn't speak a lick of English. His sister had to translate.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, this bike does not run. I said it is going to take about $2,000 in work and in parts and labor hour to get it running.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, he knows that. And then we got to comparing, and she was like, yeah, he was in a bike accident like 6 months ago, and he shows me his arm, and his arm is all tore up, right?
This man's just.
And I was like, are you sure you want to get back on a bike? Because that's a pretty brutal accident, right? Like, and don't get me wrong, like I want another bike, and I was in a collision at 35 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Right? Like I went sliding across the interstate, dude. Like I slid a good 20 feet. Like, and don't get me wrong, 35 is not fast, but the fact you're not like in a car, you're buckled into a cage, right?
Yeah.
Like on a bike, I don't have a buckle. I don't have a buckle or anything like that. Like as soon as I hit something, I'm going for a ride. So, he sent me a video late, I think it was Saturday or Sunday, of the bike running. And I was like, holy shit, dude, get on that thing and go. That thing is so fun. I was like, you're going to have the best time of your life on that bike. I am so glad you bought that and you plan to ride it instead of selling it.
Yeah.
Because that bike deserves to be like, and it was low miles. Like, I think that bike only had like 15K miles on it.
That's not bad.
So, dude, I bought it with 11 in the 2 years I owned it, year and a half, 2 years I owned it, I put 4,000 miles on it. I rode it everywhere. It was my daily for work for 10 months out of the year. Like, I just rode it. I loved it.
That's the way my truck is. It's like, for me, this is a little financial thing, but like for me, it's like, I don't need multiple cars. I just need one car that's going to get me to point A to point B. I don't care how many miles is going to be on it, because the plan is to have this vehicle for 10, 15 years, or until the wheels literally fall off. But in the grand scheme of things, every time I take the truck out, yes, it's losing value, but I'm making quote unquote money or saving money by taking this truck out. I don't have to go.
Well, correct. You're not buying a new car, right? Like that's big. Number one, you're not buying a brand new car. That's going to cost you $50,000 right now, especially.
Not leasing a car.
You're not leasing a car, which is going to cost you, if you keep it for as long as you would keep that other car. So like the term of the loan, right?
Yeah.
So you would pay more than $50,000 on a lease. And you're not, like you said, doing Uber. You're not relying on giving somebody else gas money for rides, right?
Yep.
Like, and overpaying somebody money to get you from point A to point B.
And that's like a huge thing in my life, is like, when I buy something, what value will it bring me? Not just, a satisfactory value, but like monetary value. If I go pick up a new drill or some tools or whatever.
How long did it take you to get to that point?
How long? Oh,
have you always been that way, or has it been
this whole like financial journey for me started probably 2 years ago.
So for me, when I was a young shithead in the military, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like fuck stick, absolute, like spent every dollar I made. I bought useless shit, right? Like I bought all sorts of shit. I bought TVs, I bought game systems, I bought all sorts of stuff. And don't get me wrong, like I have a gaming computer. Actually, I have right now 4 of them in my house, but 5 technically if you count the laptop. But I have a last gen PlayStation. I haven't bought a new PlayStation.
Yeah.
I have an Xbox One S that I got on sale for $200, right? Like, but my biggest thing was when we moved here, I realized how much money I was going to have, right? From wage, from whatever the excess money came from, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I was like, I looked at my wife and I was like, hey, if you want to go to school, now's the time. Right? Like, I don't want it to be that you have to work all the time. But if you want a degree and you want to do something you love, do it now.
Yeah.
Because we have the extra money to do that. And she did. And for about 6 or 7 months, she was working full time. I was working full time. And I'll tell you what, when you taste that financial freedom and you know that you're not spending money on useless shit, I haven't bought, like, to put it in perspective, I'm virtually debt free. I don't have any debt. I don't have credit card debt. I don't have car loans. I don't have a house payment. I rent a house, but we own both vehicles outright. I've owned every motorcycle I've had outright. And as far as credit cards go, we have like one that we use for like gas purchases and then paid off.
Yeah.
And that's it. So like, I didn't get to that point until I was almost 30. So like, we moved here when I was 27-ish, about to turn 28. And it took me that long in life as an adult because my dad always preached about financials and things like that. My dad is a very, very financially stable person, but my mom is not. And I lived with my mom. So she was just like, oh, hey, it's okay to spend money sometimes. And then like we would overspend and then we're barely scraping by after rent's paid and this and that, right? And we lived like that. I mean, I worked under the table for years, dude, making a shit ton of money. But guess what? I can't do anything with that money. It's not taxed. It's not legal, right? So what am I going to do? Can't invest it into anything.
Mm-hmm. You start putting it in your bank account and the bank's going to be like, huh, where's all this money?
Correct. So I sat on a stack of cash for a long time. I would buy cars or something outright and flip them because it was just easier to do that. And then I could say, oh, I bought this car, and the bank wouldn't question where the money for it came from.
Yeah.
They'd just be like, oh, you sold a car, so now you have some extra money.
I think to go back on your question, I was the kind of person as I started working when I was 16. And my work consisted of working at Advanced Auto Parts as a part-timer, still in high school, dating my ex first wife at the time. I was doing under the table work at seasonal, working haunted houses, and I never had money. Never had money. Like, even though I was making money, I was spending it. And it wasn't like now that I look back on it, it was like going out and buying food or buying something for my truck or...
Oh yeah, at that time it seems feasible, right? Because you're a young kid, you don't understand where your money should be.
I'm paying my parents my insurance because, like, I'm too young to have my own insurance. And so, like, my money's just being eaten up, and no one truly sat down and said, "Hey, Kodip, listen, like, you need to prepare for the rest of your
everything."
Life. Yeah,
literally like what I tell people now. Like my brother, like, is a really good example of this, and he's only 2 years younger than me, so he's about to turn 30. 29. He turns 29 in August, but he's close to 30, and works for a company making $16-17 an hour, blue collar worker, right?
Yeah,
and that's for the area. That's not horrible, but all of his money's soaked up. He's working on his second divorce now, but he's got kids with both mothers or both of his exes. So he's going to end up paying child support to two of them. Right? And he's like, "Oh, I'm going to go out and buy a new truck." And I was like, "Where the fuck you getting the money, bro?"
Exactly.
Are you going to shit out 50 grand? He's like, "It's not that much. It's like 20." I was like, "You're going to shit out 20 grand?"
You don't have
It's like,
that.
bro, you make 30 grand a year. It'll take you a year's wages straight to pay that fucking thing off.
And so after I got out of the military, like as soon as I got out, I was like, I've got money, I don't have to work. Feasibly, I cannot work. I could do stuff like this, but I can't go get a job.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I have a source of income coming in. I don't need to worry about anything. And then as I spent time by myself, I started thinking about things. It's like, Kodip lives with his parents because he can't afford his own place. Oh, well, that sucks.
Oh, dude, it starts sinking in, right? Like you're. So, like when I left the.
What happens when my parents die?
So when I left the military, right? I lived with my mom. Well, okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a background here. So I have an older daughter who's with another woman, right? Not my wife. Thankfully, that woman is not my wife. She's narcissistic, to say it nicely. And I don't care. Like it's one of those things where like I've told her to her face, right? Like I'm a straightforward person. If I don't like you, I don't fucking like you, and I'm gonna tell you that. But I moved in with her for I don't know 2 or 3 months after I got out, and then things didn't work out with her, right? So I was like, well, shit, where do I go from here? Like, I either end up homeless because I can't afford anywhere else right now. I didn't have a job.
Yeah.
Or I go back home to my family and they help me out until I get on my feet. Well, when you're alone, right, and you're sitting and wallowing in your own shit after a bad breakup, to just leaving the military, because that transition isn't fucking easy. You know as well as I do.
It's scary.
And it doesn't, in any way, shape, or form, it doesn't matter if you're a combat vet, somebody who only did 4 years, somebody who got medically discharged. It doesn't matter what aspect of the military that you're from. You're used to things being a certain way. And when you see the outside world of the civilian world, you're like, what the fuck's going on out here?
I don't think it's necessarily that you don't know what's going on. It's the fact that
it's you do know what's going on. It's just that there's no camaraderie. Nobody's there to do. Go ahead.
There's that, but it's the fact that everything, and when I say this, it's going to click. Everything was done for you.
It was. It really was.
Closed doors. When you did your schoolhouse, when you left boot camp or basic training or whatever you call it in the military,
all your paperwork was done for you.
You never
all of your fucking
work. You got handed a sheet of paper and it said, "Hey, be here.
Hey, you go here
at this time."
Yeah, exactly.
And then when you got done with your school, you went in to this office. They said, "Okay, you're going to go do this now. Here's the paperwork. Be here at this day, at this time. Your flight's
You're going to talk
planned,
you're going to talk to this person.
Yep.
They're going to meet you here, and then they're going to get you situated. And then from there, so my general rule of thumb is you don't get a sense of independence really in the military until like E5 or E6, right? That's when, and that's why you see a lot of angry E5s and E6s, because those motherfuckers don't know what the fuck to do, because they were just like, they're kicked out on the curb, like, all right, you're on your own now, bro. like,
here's a group of 5 or 6 men or women you got to take care of, and you have to
do everything
that
you have to do everything that Yeah, and like granted, like NCO Academy and things like that were there to help you with that. That's what a lot of that stuff was, but you still never got like solidified answers because everything was generalized, right? When you went to like an NCO Academy. And but the big thing for me is you walk out that door, right? And you walk into, let's say you're walking into a new job the next day, right? You're a civilian life, new job. You walk in there and you're like, hey, where am I supposed to go? And somebody's like, they didn't fucking tell you? They didn't fucking tell you? Well, figure it out your fucking self, bro. Like, this is my first fucking day. Like, I'm not, like, they told me 2 weeks ago in like an orientation, and now you're like I had this issue even like well after I was in the military. I had an issue with that. I worked for a company that, like an aluminum company that made door frames and window frames for, like stadiums, malls, and things like that. And I had an orientation one day, and then I had 4 days to adjust to night shift because it was 12-hour shifts, so you have day and night, right?
Yeah.
And I walked in that day, and there was nobody there to meet me at the door and say, hey, you got to go over there. Or you're supposed to be down the hallway over there.
Just Doc wandering the
and I had no safety glasses, right? No hearing protection. I'm like, where do I go, bro? Where am I supposed to be? So I walked up to the first big ass meathead I found, and I said, hey, dude, this is my name. Where am I supposed to be?
This is my
and they're
name.
like, they're like, oh, you're under me now. And I was like, you couldn't meet me at the fucking door and tell me that? And like, I worked with a bunch of steroid using fuckbags, dude. Like I watched the dude literally flip 400 pounds of metal with one hand.
Yeah, no.
It was insane. Like he was a fucking like
over there. That's
and it was because like one, it was roid rage for one. Two, it was because he was a big ass fucking kid, right? And something wasn't going his way that night. And he just fucking roided out, dude, and blew a fucking gasket. Like you could see the smoke. You could see the fucking smoke coming out of his ears, dude. It was great, but I think the transition is really, really hard for everyone. I don't care who you are, and don't get me wrong, combat vets have it real fucking hard because coming out of a fucking war zone and coming home to that shit. After like having like battle buddy kind of shit, like that dude next to you is the guy that's gonna save your fucking ass.
And you got nobody.
And then you got nobody. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and the guy next to you at the civilian workplace isn't gonna save your ass.
Yeah, and the worst part is
shit. He ain't gonna save his own ass.
Yeah, the worst part of it is the fact that like I was airframe, so I was in the air wing. Yeah, we were told what to do every day. But we had freedom. You know, we could go do a job for a couple hours and then go find something else to do and come back to that job if we needed to.
Yeah, you could go fuck off in a corner somewhere for a little bit and then come back. Yeah.
But when you're
we kind of had that freedom too.
When you're a combat veteran, day in and day out, I have buddies that were combat veterans. I have a buddy that I still talk to this day that was over in is either Iraq or Afghanistan when Biden administration pulled him out and we had that whole fuck up. Don't get me started on that shit, dude. He was there for that.
Fucking livid about that shit.
And he's like, you didn't go 30 minutes without being told what to do.
Bro, you couldn't take a piss. You couldn't take it. Like, if you're a combat veteran, bro, you didn't take a piss without somebody telling you where you could and could not piss.
And that makes the transition, like you said, for those groups so much harder because they've been, in layman's terms, they've been brainwashed to not do anything until they're told to do so.
Well, and that's the military in a nutshell, right? That's what they want.
Yeah.
And I get why they want it. I 100%, I've been there, dude. I've fucking been there. And I understand 100% why it has to be that way. But when you transition out, it's that much harder to transition.
And the transition,
and that's
it doesn't benefit. Like it benefits. I'm not gonna say it doesn't benefit because when I got out in 2019, there were a lot of opportunities. If you were not in my position, like you were just getting.
Oh, your ass could have went and worked for Lockheed.
Yeah, I could have went to Lockheed. I could have went to Boeing. I could have went to SpaceX. I could have went.
Yeah, you could have pretty much went to any fixed wing airframe company and worked for them. I have a friend who did that. Who was a heavy mechanic. He worked on the KC-10 air refuelers.
So many opportunities, and it sucks.
He's actually a lead engineer on the F-35 project now.
Oh, really?
Just so you know. Yep.
Cool shit. But it's like we had all these job opportunities, but they never harped on what actually needed to be beneficial, and that was. It's crazy to me too because like they're big on like live your life, right? And like the military is this, but the military doesn't teach you your finances. No.
They give you a paycheck. They give you a fucking paycheck, that's for sure. But
don't buy the Mustang at a high interest rate. Don't do this. Don't do that. But no one really sat down and said, "Hey, if you take your money that you're getting paid and do this with it, by the time you get out, if you do your 20 years, you're a millionaire or you're set financially from doing that amount of time."
So I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangent. It's not really a tangent, but my dad, I give this man credit for everything because as much of an asshole as he can be, and he was when we were younger, my dad is so financially set that his grandkids will probably, if they did not want to, will never have to work a day in their life.
And that's what I want for mine.
His career, okay, his career consists of 20 years in the military. 22 technically. So he has a 54% pension. For those who don't understand, if you do 20 years, it is a standard 50% at 20 years, and it's 2% every year after that.
Of your pay grade.
Your pay grade. So my dad was E7.
So he got out of
my dad was
in
the Air Force. In the Air Force, it's a master sergeant. Not only does he get that 54%, my dad has turned around and worked for Boeing as a civilian contractor with the United States Air Force for the last 20 years.
Set. Absolutely set, bro.
My dad, will receive a pension until the day he dies from both companies. That's enough in itself to put my kids through college. That his pension is literally almost $200,000 a year. And then on top of that, my dad's retirement sits in the millions.
Your dad?
I don't know exactly where it's at. No, my dad is not single. But he already has it set up in his will that the retirement does not go to his wife. His pension will.
Damn.
So
your dad,
the retirement. Yeah, right. Oh, he ain't giving me shit. I don't see any of it. He made that very clear because I was a dick to him, and he was. I mean, granted, it was well deserved. He was a dick to me, but him and I have had some pretty. We're both like brutally honest people. We butt heads a lot, but. And I don't want any of his money, right? Like, I that's fine with me. I want my kids to be set over me because I'm already 30, right? By the time he is dead, I will probably be in at least my 50s. I give him another 20 years, roughly, right? Because that's about how long his dad lived with the drinking problem that he had. But, so my kids are fucking set, bro. Like my kids. So my dad has 8. So my brother has 4 biological kids. Sister has 2. Actually, he has 9 biological grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
and the money is split between all of them when he dies. So he can live he can live very well off of his pension, right? $200K a year for the next 40 years or whatever the length of his pensions is, or the length of his life, at least for his military pension.
I mean, and the bad thing is most of the people that will probably hear us talking about this in your lifetime, you will not make $200,000 a year.
I want to put this out now. My goal is to assist anyone who is willing to take the assistance in getting to a point where you can actually find yourself in a situation where you have too much money, right? Like, yes. I would absolutely love to see people succeed with too much money rather than try to skate by, because like I stay very humble, right? Like I come from really, like, the first 12 years of my life, my parents made well over $100K in the household. Came from a really good place, right? Well, when my parents split, my dad was an ass and tried to fight my mom to pay less money all the time. And my mom only made $40K a year, if that, through the first major recession that we've had since the 70s. And that was rough, man. Gas was almost $5 a gallon in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, it wasn't easy. So, like, I come from times where I was humbled into realizing that my family just didn't have a lot of money. My ass ate noodles and rice multiple meals a day for weeks at times, right? Like, I come from that. And, like, when you taste that financial freedom, you fully understand that although people tell you that financial freedom isn't where your happiness lies, you are a much happier person when you are financially free, because then you don't have to worry, right? Like the biggest thing that, like, a lot of people have anxiety and depression because of, like, where they're at, and they feel like they're stuck because they can't make ends meet, or they're struggling to make ends meet, right? And I don't like seeing people in defense mode, but a lot of times defense mode like that is the best place to learn.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
To be honest, I was at rock
I want
bottom
people
for that.
Oh, I've been there as an adult. I've been there a couple of times. Dude, you and I have had like a very short time of talking, right? And we've learned quite a bit about each other, but I've hit rock bottom, and I say rock bottom. I mean, like, not only was my financials in the fucking dirt, my confidence, my mental stability was in the dirt, right? I spent 2 weeks in prison because I failed, or I was stopped on a fucking suspended license 3 different times.
Yeah.
Like, I've been to jail. I've been to the rock bottom, man. Like, I fully understand, man. And I don't want anyone to have to get to that point. If I can help you learn, although you are in a tough time, and pull you out of your tough time, so you are continuously, like, mistakes are the big thing, right? Like, the more you fail, the more you learn. Failure to me is not bad. Correct.
There are some people out there that just don't want to learn, and that's fine.
And I see you guys too. Okay, you're gonna get to a fucking point where you hate your fucking life.
Mm-hmm.
You are literally going to be on the brink of going to a mental fucking asylum because you can't stand the way that it is. And I promise you that, because I've almost been there. And, like, don't live that way, man. There are ways, even if you don't like working, or you don't feel like you should work for a lot of money, or you're okay with just making sure your bills are paid. But guess what? When you can go out on every Friday, like, before I got laid off, do you know what we did every Friday night? We went to a fucking steakhouse. Every Friday.
And to some people, they're going to be like, oh, you just went to a steakhouse? It's like, yeah, but...
you don't have fucking money, and you've never been able to do that, and you're like, oh, I want to be able to go out every weekend, and not so much go out to the bar, but go take my family out to eat.
It's the memories. Like, it's like,
Like I'm at a point where I'm in like defensive mode now, just because like I'm not really. How's the best way to explain this? I'm not strapped, right?
You're not off bad, but you're.
But I'm not working.
Yeah,
I'm not working. So there's no, aside from the little bit of unemployment I'm getting, and I say a little bit because I'm making maybe 30% of what I made on fucking unemployment. So like living off of this has been like I guess I lived a pretty bougie life, right? Like I say bougie. It's bougie for me because I never had that shit, right? Like
the lifestyle creep that's gotten you. And I don't mean to go on a tangent, but you went from humble beginnings
to having money, back to like, oh shit, I need to like defensive save mode because how am I gonna live?
And you've realized you're like how quickly you went from not having money to having money. Your lifestyle changed so quickly. You know, like you said, going out every Friday to a steakhouse. Now you can't do that because you have to be on that defensive mode because you don't have.
Granted, we still go out every Friday night, but we don't go to like bougie places. I take the kids to Whataburger.
Yeah.
Instead, and I mean, some people think Whataburger's bougie. Like that's bougie fast food to some people, but I mean, I think Whataburger's great for the price.
But that's like the thing is like. The biggest thing is lifestyle creep. If you can fight the lifestyle creep, you will do financially independent things way sooner.
For sure.
Sooner than you would if you know, every time you got a pay raise, you were like, oh, I can now afford this car payment for this brand new car that I've been wanting. Or
you just don't buy the brand new car. Yeah. You live with what you got until it stops. Like literally the wheels fall off of it, right? Yeah. Like I have a 2008 and a 2007 car. Both cars, one car we had a loan for. When we moved down here, we paid the loan off in the first 4 months we were here. Because I didn't want a car payment anymore. Because guess what? That puts $400 back in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
If I pay that car off, if I spend the $4,000 or $3,000 or whatever it was now, in these first couple of paychecks, so be it, because the next 10 years, I won't have a fucking car payment.
And in reality, that car's made you more money in savings because you don't. I
don't know about that. I just put, so last summer we put, and I had to take it to a shop because I don't have the means to do it here. If I had the means to do it here, it would have gotten done here. But, I had to have a clutch and a slave cylinder put into it, and that cost me about $3,000. So
yeah, but what's the longevity of that, though? You know,
the first clutch lasted 170,000 miles. So, I mean, can I get another 170,000 miles out of that motor? Probably not. But will I get another 100,000 out of it?
Taken care of? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Changing the oil every 3,000 miles. I mean, it's a turbo car. Don't get me wrong. It's not like a fuel efficient turbo car either. Like it's a Caliber SRT4. So like it's an SRT branded. It's a Mopar Racing branded car. So it's not meant for fuel economy. So it's not a turbo for fuel economy. It's a turbo because I like to go way faster than I fucking should.
But to go back to the original question, so for me in my financial journey, I think a lot of it stemmed from I was always not necessarily spending money, but I didn't give a shit. Like I knew I could just work. And I've been to that rock bottom, not the rock bottom that you've been to, but I've been to a rock bottom where I've gotten into a fist fight with a coworker because he said something bad about my dad.
Well, exactly. And this is so everybody's rock bottom is different, but it's the same, right? Yeah. Like it's different in how it happens or why it happens. It's the same because it is rock bottom, right? Like, and this is like one of the things that I explain to people is like, I get the conversation, like my kids especially right now, because they're at that age where it's like, oh, this is only happening to me. Well, no. I promise you it's not. There are other kids going through the same exact thing that you are going through right now.
Yep.
Or I've seen it in adults. Oh, why does this only happen to me? It doesn't. Look around you, bro. Like, you're not the only one. And I don't want to say that in a mean way. I want you to understand that there's people there that who have gone through what you've gone through. Whether it was the same situation, that doesn't fucking matter.
Like I lost
like to
house, I lost friends. I had to move back in with my family. Like that was my first ever rock bottom. And I was behind on rent payments. Like I'm paying $600 a month. I remember it like it was yesterday. I'm paying $600 a month for a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath house in a really bad part of town. Like I had 3 roommates. They were supposed to be helping me pay the rent and, all the other bills. They just up and left one day. And then
dude, you find out.
Yeah, the next
I'll tell you what rock bottom brings. Rock bottom shows you who the real homies are. It 100% shows you who the real homies are. I keep a tight circle, and I have for years, because I've learned that some bridges just need fucking burnt, man.
Yep.
Some bridges need fucking burnt because those people are a fucking parasite. Right? And granted, I know you may not be this way. I was going to say, you may not be this way, but a lot of it is my family.
Yeah.
Like,
it's family. Like
my grandparents have not met 2 of my children. Have not met 2 of my children is because my grandfather is a fucking parasite. I love the man to death. He's very successful. But his attitude towards his grandkids and his daughter have been the reason that I have burnt that bridge. And like, there was a point, so when I got out of the military, he's like, oh, you got out? Well, you're worthless now. And I was like, what? And I called him the day I moved to Texas, and I said, listen, motherfucker, I make $100,000 a year now. What the fuck are you gonna do? Your other grandson's a pile of shit and makes $20,000 a year. Fuck you, and hung up the phone. That was the end of that. I haven't talked to him since, and it's funny, I'm gonna move 3 hours away from him. And he's older now, and he's had a lot of experiences with like sicknesses where he's been like teetering on the edge of like death, right? So it seems that he's come around a little bit to understand how he's acted hasn't exactly been the correct way to do things, especially to blood, right? And granted, don't get me wrong, like I keep my brother close. I hate his choices, but I still have it in my head. I still have it in my head that one day this dumb motherfucker is going to listen to me, right? He's going to listen to what I say, and he's going to change his fucking life. But he's my brother too, right? And he's been there through all of my dumb shit. I've been there through all of his dumb shit. And he's been that, like, friend-wise, he's been that rock that's always been there.
Yeah.
So, like, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of family that, like we talked about before, man, the rumor mill, a lot of my family will run their mouth about what I'm doing, and I'm like, all right, if that's what you want to tell people, go for it, bro. I don't fucking care. Like,
don't let what other people have to say about you bother you or change who you are. Like I tell people all the time, the biggest thing you can do to combat that is to sit there and just show them with action. You don't have to sit there and argue with these people. You're wasting oxygen. You're wasting your time by telling people, "Oh, I'm not this person," or "Oh, I didn't do that." Just go about your day. Continue to keep doing what you're doing, and at the end of the day, the people that have listened to that person spewing shit will realize
use that shit as motivation too.
Yeah. I mean, look at, like you said, look at Elon and probably Jeff Bezos and others that were like,
oh, Bezos, I guarantee it. There's been multiple accounts where people have said, oh, we didn't believe in him.
Yeah.
And it's been like, he's like making this online buying service before the internet was really taking off, right? It was before DSL even, at least the public version of DSL. I'm sure the military had it, and he's like, oh, this company's going to take off. And they're like, you're fucking funny, bro. Like, you're working out of a basement right now.
But he had a dream, and we're not saying.
And he followed. Okay, so I'm gonna be the first person to tell you, I don't give a fuck how extreme or crazy your fucking dream is. Chase that motherfucker.
Yeah, we're not saying.
Always chase the fucking dream.
We're not like, I'm not trying to sit here and say that these big people should be your example. But
they are good examples, right? Like it's a good way to reference. Yeah, it's a good way to reference and show you what we mean, because it's who you see in the news every day or who you see online all the time, right? Like everybody knocks Zuckerberg for where he's at now, but guess what? That motherfucker made one of the most successful social media sites on the internet.
Even though he looks like a lizard, he did make the most successful social media platform. Go ahead. There was a show on Netflix that was like based on conspiracy theories. Oh no.
It was a cartoon. I highly advise watching it because it's hilarious as fuck.
Oh god.
And it has lizard people in it. It made me think of that. Like I was like, "Oh my god, he's talking about that show."
But we're like, it's hard for me to articulate this. Like, don't sit there and just wallow in your self-pity and your shit that you're going through. At the end of the day, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, everyone that have made a name for themselves started from somewhere. Yeah.
Wasn't Jeff Bezos a fucking manager at a Domino's or something?
I don't
remember exactly what it was. It was some small place. He was a manager there.
I do not
zero fucking dollars to his name when he started Amazon, and came from nothing.
Yeah, Amazon was a bookstore, a online bookstore to start off with.
Amazon was literally what Kindle turned into.
Yeah,
and then Kindle turned into, oh, people are buying this shit online. Let me try to sell other stuff. And it expanded rapidly.
If you have an idea, go for it.
Go ahead.
Somebody else probably has the same exact idea you'd have. But
if they beat you to it,
yeah,
if they beat you to it, it's a problem.
It's a problem.
Because then you're going to be like, oh shit, man, I should have done something. I should have acted on that.
Or it's the lack of execution. So, with that being said, be a problem solver. Because 9 times out of 10, these multi-billion-dollar companies need a problem solver. There is something, I don't care how minuscule or how large it is, there is something that you, as a person outside of that box that multi-billion-dollar company is in, you can see it and you can go, I could fix that. That's easy.
I have a solution. Yeah.
Yes, say something. They may listen to you. They may not. And if you want to be really, really smart about it, go get a patent for it and then go to them with it. And then if they steal it, well, you've already got the patent for it. So you've got to even
once you put a patent into process, they cannot take it from you.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing is like, when I say dog eat dog world, I'm 30, mind you. I feel like I'm 80 because of the strenuous activities that I've had in my life. But I also have the mindset of an older person. And what that means is I realize that the world outside is a dog eat dog world. Everyone at some point is out for themselves, and that's it. And they will use you and abuse you until they can't do it anymore, and then they'll throw you away. But there are, like you said, in a small, tight-knit group, you can find people that are not going to do something like that. And those are the people that you have to keep around. Because if you don't, you're going to step into those people that don't want to do that. And then you're going to be like, oh, why is everyone stabbing me in the back? What the fuck? And it's too late.
When you go to bat because you have this grand idea, you don't want the group of people behind you saying, oh, I don't think you should do that, man. That's a little too big for you. You want the people that are saying, hey, bro, we did that too. This is how we fucking did it. And we're going to help you get there.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, and Kodip, you and I have talked about this a bunch of times, man. Jeff Bezos, as much as they bicker on the internet, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk don't fucking hate each other. I guarantee you they talk on a regular fucking basis.
And they don't.
Their competition.
They don't talk as friends, and that's what you need to understand. That some of these people don't.
They talk as business owners.
Yes,
they talk ideas. They talk exactly, and they bounce and they trust each other to say, "Hey, I have this idea," and that person's not going to take that idea from them. Those people, and granted, those people are really, really hard to find. Mm-hmm. Okay, I have like 2 really, really good friends who would never do something like that to me, and they are the kind of people that are like, "Hey, I see you doing that. Here's how I did it to make it successful." Like the idea is you want to have people smarter than you around you at all times,
but not too
and maybe not smarter, maybe not smarter than you all around. Smarter than you. Let's say you're an apples guy and this guy's an oranges guy, right? You want to keep a smart oranges guy around because you never know when you're going to need him.
Exactly.
Right. And you're the smart apples guy, so when he needs a smart apples guy, guess who he's coming to?
Yep.
Right? So like that's the big thing that we have right now. Like my buddy, one of my close buddies, and I don't know if you've met him, Kodip. He hangs out in Ava's Discord. His name is on Discord is Inferno Blade. He does 3D printing. Well, 3D printing isn't my thing, right? But we have a mining business together. Because we both enjoy the markets, right? I mean, everyone, if you know how to use the markets, then, I mean, everybody enjoys the fucking markets. I've made countless thousands of dollars on the market. Very dangerously, at least, when I did it, but I did do it. And I played it right because I knew people who had been playing it for a while, and I spoke with them, right? Like that goes back to the circle thing, right? I wasn't a stock guru, but I had stock gurus in my corner.
Yeah.
And guess what? I made a fuck ton of money doing it. Tell you what, I ate a nice steak that night. Right, I sold that shit, bro. We went to one of the best steakhouses around.
And that's the thing, is like, you've got to find the people, and you'll see it if you take a step back in your friend group. Like let's say Kevin over here, he's got a decent sized friend group, but he's not going anywhere in his life. He's got all these dreams and aspirations and everything like that, but he's just not able to really kick them off. Maybe you can
sit back and realize who is actually going to help you do that. If you take a step back and you're like, oh, this person's done the same thing for the last 25 years.
Maybe
and he has no plans to change. Maybe he's not the guy to keep around at least close friends.
Yeah.
To try and help me move up in the world, right? Like
I'll be honest. Like, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'll be honest.
No, you're good.
I met Doc through my stream. He just randomly showed up one day. I don't remember if it was from a raid or whatever, but he randomly showed up. We started talking.
I clicked you because I scroll down to the bottom of Twitch under 100 viewers, and I choose somebody in there to watch.
Well, I got
that's why I do it. You got
lucky.
No, I got lucky too, because I found somebody who shares some of the same interests as I do, and that's big.
I have been fucking eaten and beaten down from countless people over and over and over again. And we were having a conversation one night on stream about finances and doing like these pep talks and all this stuff, and it was going good, and it's going good. And Doc wanted to come in, and normally I am never the person to let someone I don't know into my Discord to talk on stream, especially because I've been burned, bro.
Oh man, some people are
they're menaces.
Yeah, I come from the era of Twitch where people would like come into your Discord and come in with like a voice mod or something, and start spitting the N-word out, man. Oh, dude, that was bad. I come from that era, so like I understand, dude.
And so like,
I understand the hesitation.
Yeah, we're talking, and it's so good. It's so good. And then we talked for hours after the stream. We talked for hours, and we come up with the podcast idea and everything. But in the back of my head, I'm like, this motherfucker could burn me if I'm not careful.
Well, of course, everyone's always thinking it, right? Like, that's the thing.
And
like, it's always like, oh, and granted, I'm sure you thought that after like the first 3 times I was like, hey, I can't sit down and record today. Like, I'm sure you were like, oh, this motherfucker.
No. It wasn't that. It's like, because I also know, and I try to stay very, very humble on social media when it comes to things like this. It's like, Doc, you've got kids, you've got a wife, all this stuff. You're going to be busy. I personally am not that busy. So when you have time, we can get together and we can do this. It just so happens that tonight we're able to record this stream or this podcast, and it was supposed to be done 3 weeks ago. But
yeah, you gotta love it when schedules just don't line up. We're like, maybe it's not meant to be.
Yeah.
And then tonight you popped in, you're like, hey, you said 10:30, and I was like, I meant 10:30 my time, bro. And he's like, you're like, motherfucker. And I was like, oh, well, I mean, you're here, let's do it. I have time, you have time. Let's fucking get this done.
And it may take off. And it may flop. I hope it doesn't flop. I hope that a lot of people find our podcast and truly listen to what we have to say. Whether you take it as advice or you just listen because you like hearing us bullshit, don't care. And I don't mean that I don't care in a bad way, but we want things to be beneficial. Like Doc said, he wants you to have, at the end of the day, he wants you to have more money than you need. Me personally, I don't want to see anybody struggle day in and day out fighting for, that next paycheck or wondering why their life sucks so bad. There are reasons why it sucks. Talk to me, let us know, and we're going to tell you. We don't bullshit. We will tell you like it is. Hey, your life sucks because you refuse to go get a better paying job. Your life sucks because of your friend group. Your life sucks because of whatever the case may be. I'm going to be brutally honest with you.
I much prefer that because, and I expect people to be that way with me, right? Like, if I'm down in the dumps and I'm like, oh, my life sucks, and they're like, well, your dumbass doesn't have a fucking job right now. Of course your fucking life sucks. Or, oh, your dog just died. Of course your life sucks. That's fucking hard to go through. Like, I get it, man. Like, it's not that I'm over here trying to preach something that I don't understand, right? Like, I've been through hard times. You've been through hard times, right? And that makes the world of difference when it comes to, like,
the biggest
kind of like co-mingling with the people that are struggling. And and like you said, financially free, yeah, that's one thing, but I think that gets rid of a lot of that struggle, whether it's mental, whether it's physical, financially. It's a huge burden off your shoulders when you can sit down at the end of the day and say, fuck, dude, I got some extra money.
Yeah.
I want to get McDonald's tonight, or I want to go to Qdoba and get the bowl and not have to split it with my fucking wife because I have more than $9 to my fucking name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I've been to that point, right? Like, Friday night, there's no groceries in my house. I got enough to feed my kids, but I don't got enough to feed my wife and I. Now I'm running my bank account negative to get us a bowl to share because I get paid in 2 days. Right?
That's like the worst feeling is living paycheck to
I
paycheck.
hate it. I hate it, man. And I don't think there's nobody in this world. I don't care if somebody comes into me or walks up to me plain faced and says, I love that shit. I'm going to look at you and say, you're a fucking liar. Because there's no way. There is no way. What you're comfortable with is, one, your job, if you have one. You're comfortable with the wage that they're paying you. probably which is underpaid.
I wouldn't say comfortable.
Yep.
I would say more so complacent.
Complacency, yeah. Yeah, complacency is probably a better term than comfortable. And you don't want to leave that because you're unsure of what happens next, right? I am a firm believer in fucking love the uncertainty. Because that uncertainty, the uncomfortability that you feel from that uncertainty is what's going to drive you. That is where you get that drive from. And you're like, well, shit, this is hard, or oh shit, I did this wrong this time. Let's try it this way, right? Like that's where you're.
Uncertainty is not necessarily just uncertainty. And you can look back on anyone's life, and when they're at rock bottom, the amount of effort they put into getting to the next paycheck, or making sure the lights stay on in the house, or they don't.
Of course, I mean
that effort should be put into everything that you do day in and day out, and your life will transform so much from just that amount of effort.
One of the biggest things that was taught to me, and I highly advise this program if you have the means physically to do it, because it is pretty taxing physically. And I say taxing, you can walk 45 minutes a day, twice a day. There's a man out there, his name is Andy Frisella. He has a program called 75 Hard. It is a mental toughness program. It is not a workout program. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm doing 75 Hard to get fit. Well, that's just a byproduct, because the whole thing is you follow a plan, right? And that plan doesn't just include the 2 workouts a day. It includes drinking a gallon of water. It includes eating on a specific diet plan. And it doesn't have to be like your fad diets. It can be, oh, I'm going to cut out 50% of the carbs that I normally eat. And as long as you stick to that, that is a diet plan.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I'm going to cut out rice or potatoes, or I'm going to cut out cheeses because I know how bad the processed milk is for me, right? Like that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. So you do that, those 2 things. You drink a gallon of water a day. Okay? And these are hard requirements for this program. You read a self-help book. And that's it. That's the program. And what that does, because I've done it multiple times, okay? I've failed it twice and completed it once. What that does is it gets you in that mindset of loving the process of always bettering yourself. That is the key. If you can love the process to better yourself, then you'll be able to do anything. It's crazy to me that, like, after doing the program, it's crazy to me how people can still sit and say, oh, I can't do this, right? And that to me is hard. Like, I can't say that. I can't. It doesn't exist, because I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to at least try it. If I fail, I'm either going to learn to do it a different way, or learn that I'm not skilled enough to do it, so I need to practice those skills before I decide to try this again.
Yeah.
And so like, I think being able to bust through grit, right? Like having grit, loving the process, and just being able to bear the monotony, right, of processes like that, where you are trying over and over and over again, because that's going to happen in a financial state any way you go. You're either going to get into a job that you can't stand and you're going to leave it. You're going to get into a job, not understand how it goes, and you're going to end up getting fired, right? Like all this stuff happens. These are possibilities are endless when it comes to failing. But you learn from those, and that's the key takeaway is you educate yourself. It's not bad to fail. It's good to fail, because then you learn.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how you stepping stone all the way up to the success, whether it's something simple like making sure all your bills are paid, or whether it's to the point where, there's this $15 million house at Disney World that I want.
Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me, bro.
Listen, I want that house too, bro. I want that fucking house.
Hell, one of us is gonna get it. If we don't get it, we'll just move in together.
I was gonna say, if one of us gets it, we will definitely be inviting the other one to live there. I'm sure there's plenty of rooms in that house for it too. Anyways,
7 bedrooms.
I think it was 7 bedrooms, 7 bath, but it was like 12,000 square feet.
Yeah, something stupid.
And bro, you could live on one side of that house and never ever see the other side.
Exactly. But we're going. It's an hour.
Oh, it's getting late.
Yeah, an hour and 50 minutes. We're going to wrap up the first episode of the podcast, first ever episode.
For sure.
Where can they find you, Doc? On social media?
They can find me on social media currently. I'm still working on the actual like socials. The biggest place to find me is typically Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, I think is what my wife and I were talking about on Twitch TV. I'm playing Destiny 2 right now. But twitch.tv/doc_CR33PER.
Alrighty.
How about you, Kodip? Where can they find you?
You can find me multiple places. Twitch.tv/Kodip. I usually try to stream every single night. At random times. I don't have a set schedule. I need to have a set schedule. But
we need to stop overlapping each other's schedules because that seems to be happening.
Yeah. Then also Instagram.com/Kodip Gaming. You can find me over there. I need to make sure that my Twitter and all that stuff is good. Or X. Need to get all
Well, it's technically the name of it's still Twitter. The icon is just X.
Yeah. So, you can find me at twitch.tv/Kodip or Instagram @Kodip Gaming. You can find me over there. I do random stuff. But you can also find us here at Discussions by Dummies, where we're going to have more interesting conversations and hopefully more, I would say not scheduled. What's the word? Oh shit. Structured.
Yeah. Number one's always a little wild because it's actually kind of funny because my wife and I had a podcast previously called Organized Chaos because that's literally all it was.
That's what
like we would pick a singular topic, and where it went from there was just the way of the road, man.
Yep.
Way of the road. But
we'll be more organized coming up. For sure.
And what I'm going to say now is as of right now, the plan is to be on Spotify, iTunes. I say iTunes. It's Apple Podcast, I think, now instead of iTunes. And I think I'm going to throw us up on Podbean too. I haven't quite decided yet. And YouTube, maybe not the first episode. I'm going to try to get an account set up and test the waters a little bit after we release the episode so people can decide if they want to watch and or hear or just hear us talk.
We'll get it straightened out.
And as we go, of course, things will always change, right? If y'all decide that you like something more than another, then we'll shift gears and be able to do that too.
Yep.
But for now, we'll catch you guys on the flip side.
Peace, eggs,
probably
and bacon grease, motherfuckers.
Ooh, I like that one. Later, homies.